Hey, it's Matt, your average gamer, and for this video, we've got something different for you. We are going to be buffing a little more in this video, going over the buffing orders, by the way, using the blood-sucking cracked tier, which I haven't really done much with yet, and getting a lot of damage out of some of these builds and ranking them too. We're going to start here at number 9 with the Falx Dexterity build. And I hope you're having a wonderful day, whoever you are, and I hope you enjoy this video and some of these builds end up being for you. First things first, we're going to use Golden Vow, then we're going to use Blessing's Boon. After that, we can fill up our FP, then we're going to use the Blood-Sucking Cracked Tier, which lasts around 2 minutes. Lastly, I'm going to use Flame Grant Me Strength, and we're going to go in for some damage. So, two very small mistakes here. I forgot the white mask. I'll go over that in a second. That would have given me more damage. And then I forgot and hit, instead of the follow-up button, I hit the Ash of War button twice. I forget that on the Falx. But overall, the damage was pretty insane. First one, we ended up taking around 15,000 plus damage off. And then we took down the second Godskin Apostle there with a little bit of HP left to take down here real quick. Ultimately a fun and powerful build though, a lot of these are. As we get higher up, since I ranked these, some of them are going to do a pretty insane amount of damage and can make the game a lot easier for you. But keep in mind, these are more dangerous builds to use with less vigor, and in some cases, with some of the later ones, low health proccing too. Let's jump into equipment. And for equipment, we have the Falx plus 10. We have any seal for buffs. Part of the Rakshasa set, Engraver, a chest piece for the jump attack damage, Claw Talisman, Shard of Alexander, Lord of Blood's Exaltation. We have Maleficent's Prosthesis. We were using Sleeping Pots there. And then, of course, you could have used the White Mask as well, which would have made this build better. And I don't know if I showed it or not, but the tier is going to be the Blood-Sucking Crack tier and the Authority tier. Let's jump into stats. And the stats on this one are going to be 50 Vigor, 18 Mind, 28 Endurance, 30 Strength. We have 65 Dexterity. We have 25 Faith. And then for our buffs, we're going to use Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, and Blessing's Boon to help with the HP. And at number 8, we have the Spinning Weapon build, which we did last week. This is the only one that actually carries over from last week, but I wanted to improve upon it, add the Blood-Sucking Cracked here, make it a little better, and look at this. We phased Radahn, Concert Radahn from the DLC, in just 2 spins. 2 uses the Ash of War, and he phased. That's pretty phenomenal with Blood Flame Blade, and then, of course, the Great Katana and Spinning Weapon Ash of War. Yeah, that was a lot of damage. This is Journey 3, by the way, with DLC Plus for all footage in this video. But ultimately, getting that damage in there, being able to phase him that quick. Now, throughout this fight, again, I make a small mistake because I didn't really have time to use Blood Flame Blade again. Had I used it, he would have went down quicker because it's excellent with this and gives us more bleed buildup. It's going to run out here, ultimately, and we still get decent damage. But, of course, it's going to be much better with Blood Flame Blade. Don't worry, by the way, I'll show you the buffing order after this one. Now, had I had Blood Flame Blade and gotten one more bleed proc, he probably wouldn't have been able to go up for the Meteor, which results actually in me getting hit here. Luckily surviving it. They did nerf the damage on that a little bit. But yeah, you would probably want to use Blood Flame Blade again. Could have taken him down substantially quicker there and saved about 20 or 30 seconds of this fight. And instead of taking him down in about 1:20 from first contact, I probably would have taken him down in a little bit under a minute, which for Radahn is pretty impressive ultimately. Anyways, I really like the Spinning Weapon build on the Great Katana. I'm glad that I was able to improve upon it, get even more damage out of it, and kind of give you a build that you could use against him as well. We're going to go over equipment, stats, and then the buffing order. And for equipment, we have the Heavy Great Katana with Blood Flame Blade. We are using any seal for buffs. We have the White Mask Rakshasa set on. We have the Winged Sword Insignia, or Rotten Winged Sword Insignia if you have it. Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Shard of Alexander, Maleficent's Prosthesis, Thorny tier, and the Blood-Sucking Crack tier, which will be a theme throughout this entire video. Let's jump into stats. And for stats, we have 50 Vigor, 23 Mind. We have 33 Endurance, 66 Strength. That's going to be 99 when you two-hand this. We have 18 Dexterity. We have 25 Faith. For our buffs, we're using Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, Blessing's Boon to help with HP, and Blood Flame Blade as well. In the buffing order, first things first, we are going to use the Incantation Golden Vow, giving us 25% more attack and defense. Blessing's Boon to help with the Blood-Sucking Crack tier. Then we're going to use Blood Flame Blade, fill up our FP, then we're going to drink the Blast of Wondrous Physic that has the Blood-Sucking Crack tier and Thorny tier, then lastly, Flame Grant Me Strength. Then you could use Spinning Weapon for massive damage and bleed buildup. And at number 7, we have Carian Sovereignty. And for this one, since we're going to go for one hits mostly, we're going to low health proc all the way down. It'll be super risky. So we're going to bring our HP down with Seppuku to that 20% mark so we can get the Red Feathered Branch Sword Talisman activated. That's going to ultimately give us 20% more damage. It's going to be super helpful because we're using the Bloodsucking Crack tier. We can't really use the Ritual Swords Talisman. First things first, we're going to use Golden Vow. Then we're going to use Blessing's Boon. Then we're going to fill up our FP. Then we're going to use Howl You could do that one last technically, but we're not going to have health for very long once we use this tier. Then we're going to drink the Bloodsucking Crack tier, go up behind this Gargoyle, see how much damage we get. Alright, time to use Carian Sovereignty, which has a 2-part Ash of War, and ultimately we're able to take him down with the extra swipe, doing 8,000 damage. And I don't know how much the first swipe did, but it did a lot. I'm going to show one more off here. On standing targets, this is really great, especially targets you can go up behind and practice it. With low health proccing and everything, you're going to get a lot of damage out of Carian Sovereignty. In a second here, we're going to go over equipment stats, everything you need to know for this build to get a lot of damage. We use the Magic Broadsword there. We used anything basically with Seppuku to bring your HP down, any staff for Terra Magica, any seal for buffs, Rakshasa set. Then we have Godfrey Icon, we have the Red Feathered Branch Sword Talisman, we have the Shard of Alexander, Magic Scorpion Charm, and then we have the Magic tier, and of course, again, the Bloodsucking Crack tier, a very risky tier that gives you 20% more damage. Let's jump into stats. And we have some risky stats here. We have 40 Vigor, 23 Mind, 25 Endurance, 75 Intelligence, 33 Faith. We are using Golden Vow, Howl Terra Magica, and once again, Blessing's Boon as well. And next up here at number 6, we have any bleed jump build will pretty much work here. You could use the same talisman setup that I'm going to show you and then the stats of your choosing. Lately, I've been using the Godskin Peelers because I've been having fun with them. They're not the best. At 150, I think the Scavengers are best in Gargoyle Twin Blades, but they do a lot of damage. And the last jump here, by the way, 17,000 damage there. Bleed is always broken, and the Bloodsucking Crack tier makes it even more broken. Let's jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know. I'll show the buffing order after stats. We have 2 Blood Godskin Peelers with Seppuku on them. We have the Dragon Communion Seal, but it's just for buffs mainly. Part of the Rakshasa set, Great Burst set, and the White Mass. Lord of Blood's Exaltation, Millicent's Prosthesis, Wing Sword Insignia, or Rotten Wing Sword Insignia if you have it. Claw Talisman, Thorny tier, Bloodsucking Crack tier. Let's jump into stats. And for stats on this one, we have 50 Vigor, 15 Mind, 28 Endurance, we have 17 Strength, we have 45 Dexterity for that nice Dexterity soft cap, the first good one, 25 Faith, 45 Arcane, also to hit that Arcane soft cap, 45 is really good for bleed build-up. We are using Golden Vow, Flame Grant Me Strength, and Blessing's Boon as our buffs. Let's jump into the buffing order. And first thing here, we're going to use Golden Vow. After that, we're going to use Blessing Boon, of course, to kind of negate some of the Bloodsucking Crack tier. Then we're going to fill up our FP. I would actually use the tier here instead of Flame Grant Me Strength to flip those, but either one, then Flame Grant Me Strength. And then lastly, you're going to use Seppuku on the other one by two-handing your offhand one, going back to Power Stancing, two-handing the other one, and then now we have a powerful Seppuku bleed build. Probably only about 15 seconds, maybe 10 seconds of Flame Grant Me Strength, but in a lot of cases you won't need much. For those worried about bleed resistant bosses, not going to have a lot of issues with this either because you're going to be using the Bloodsucking Crack tier, so you get a lot of damage. 2 jumps, 11,000 damage on a bleed immune boss. You're not going to have a lot of trouble there. No matter what build you run, it's pretty solid. I hope you guys are having fun so far because this is probably one of the most fun ones on the list, and that's at number 5, we have the one-hit bonk build. This is even better with the Bloodsucking Crack tier, and if you don't want to go crazy with all the poison proccing and the whole Lord of Blood's Exaltation activating thing, you could use a build like this one. We are going to use Golden Vow and Blessing's Boon after we bring our HP down to about 20%. Then we're going to fill up our FP, then use Howl, of course, last. Then we're going to use actually the tier last here because we don't have a lot of HP. We're going to go in, see how much damage we can do to the Magma Worm here, and see if we can hit him in one shot. Missed him the first time, didn't miss him the second time. 12,000 damage, almost 11,900 in a single bonk. And he didn't have to do the poison proccing. He didn't have to do the whole white mass, changing equipment and all that. Still get a reasonably good amount of damage. Bloodsucking Crack tier, very, very good tier to add to any build. My health is ticking down here. Of course, be aware of that after you take down any boss, especially when you're low health procking. I did die a few times. But just want to mention real quick, if you're not subbed yet, be sure to sub if you're enjoying this video. This community has been awesome. Let's jump into equipment. And we have the Heavy Giant Crusher Royal Knights Resolve. Any weapon to bring down your HP with Seppuku, any seal for buffs, Rakshasa set, Axe Talisman. We have the two-handed sword talisman, red feathered branch sword talisman, arsenal charms +1 or Great Jar's Arsenal, spike crack tier, and the blood sucking crack tier 2. Let's jump into stats. And for stats, we have 50 vigor, 15 mind, we have 35 endurance, we have 66 strength. That's going to be 99 when you two-hand this, which will take effect since we're using Royal Knights Resolve with a regular weapon. We have 33 faith. We are going to be using Golden Vow, Howl, and Blessing's Boon for our buffs. All right, the next one on here is my favorite on this list, and anybody that's been following my channel knows this, but we can get even more damage out of Ice Spear. At number 4, we have Ice Spear, one of the most reliable things that you can use in Elden Ring. The Ash of War is phenomenal. First things first, we're going to bring our HP down. I'm going to go a little higher than 20% because this fight could go on for a little bit. That way it activates during the fight. Then Golden Vow, Blessing's Boon, drink your tear, use Howl, and then once we get in here, we're going to use Terra Magica too. And Godfrey did get me once, but his initial cinematic where he's close to you makes it a lot more difficult to cast Terra Magica and be able to hit him for good damage. So we're going to hang back here. I kind of hoped that he did the jump. He ended up doing the jump. That worked out for me because we'll be able to get in a couple hits, avoid him, and see how much damage we can get with Ice Spear. And 2 so far has taken a pretty good amount of his HP off. The third one there took even more off. We're getting over 3,000 damage per use of Ice Spear. And of course, Ice Spear builds up poise damage too. It's 20 poise damage on each hit as well, so keep that in mind. And we're going to hit him once more before he phases. Let's see how quick phase 2 ends up being. We are able to get a posture break there with Ice Spear. And then, of course, our critical hit's going to do massive damage. And we ended him in, like, literally 5 seconds after he phased. Ice Spear is already good. With the blood-sucking crack tier, and if you low health proc, you can get even more damage out of it. And it's so reliable and easy to use, too. In a second here, we're going to jump into equipment, stats, everything you need to know. After we randomly rest, because we keep losing HP, it's something that you kind of have to do with these types of builds. You lose a lot with the blood-sucking crack tier, but you get 20% more damage. We have the Clayman's Harpoon in Magic Affinity with Ice Spear. Anything to bring your HP down with Seppuku. We have any staff, any seal for Terra Magica and buffs. Rakshasa set. I had that to raise Dexterity a little bit. I'll talk about that in a second. Shard of Alexander, Red Feathered Branch Sword Talisman, Magic Scorpion Charm, Magic Tier, Blood-Sucking Crack Tier. Let's jump into stats. And we have 50 Vigor, 21 Mind, 28 Endurance, we have 13 Strength, 20 Dexterity, we have 60 Intelligence, 33 Faith. Keep in mind Ice Spear scales both with Dexterity and Intelligence and goes really well in Cold Affinity, Magic Affinity, and Keen Affinity. We're using Golden Vow, Howl, Blessing's Boon, and of course Terra Magica. I just want to show this clip real quick too on how good this build is. Even if you don't low health proc, you can still get a lot of damage out of Ice Spear ultimately. Let's see how much we get on Gideon. He's got a lot less resistance wise, and he gets over 3,000 damage there for both. He only took 2 hits in total and Gideon disappeared. At number 3, we are now going to go over our lightning build. Alright, so I'm going to show you the buffing order, and then I'm going to talk about a different one because I used the Priestess Heart in the second clip. There's going to be 2 clips in total. For the first one, we're going to bring our HP down once again to around 20%. And then we're going to use Golden Vow, of course. We have Blessings of the Earth Tree now, which is going to keep us in our 20% range longer because it's going to fight with the Blood-Sucking Crack Tier longer. Then we're going to use our FP to fill that back up. Then the Blood-Sucking Crack Tier for this one. Then Howl, and then, of course, lastly, we're going to use the Jellyfish Shield and get ready. Alright, and let's see how much damage we get on Morgott overall here with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike. We got a lot going on. We ended up using a lot of buffs. We are going to use the Shackle there, and I think he stands up at the worst time possible and ends up taking 19,590 damage in total. That's a pretty good amount of damage with Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike with our buffs. And now we're going to go over equipment stats, and then I'll show you one more thing with the lightning build. We have the Gravelstone Seal plus 25. Anything to bring down your HP with Seppuku. We have the Jellyfish Shield, Rakshasa set. Of course, we have the Godfrey icon. We have the Red Feathered Branch Sword Talisman, Falx Canvas Talisman, Lightning Scorpion Charm, and then we have the Lightning Tier, blood-sucking cracked ear, and of course we were using Market Shackle to stun that boss too. Let's jump into stats. And for stats, we have 50 Vigor, 21 Mind, 26 Endurance, 20 Strength, 14 Dexterity. We have 80 Faith in total. And then we are using Golden Vow, Hellish Rebury, Blessings of the Erd Tree, which is a little bit better for getting back some HP. And then Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike and Knight's Lightning Spear is always good to have on hand too. And so for this one, it's the same essentially in terms of your buffing order. The only difference is at the last minute, use the Priestess Heart again so you can get the buff. You have to actually use it twice. Once to turn into the dragon, and then again for the buff. You could use it probably roughly before you use Hellish Rebury for the build, because Hellish Rebury is relatively short too. I'm not sure how long the buff is on the Dragon Priestess, by the way, but I know it's not forever, and it's like anything else, it's going to be a time thing. And let's see how much damage we get here on phase 1 of the Fire Giant. We're able to phase him with 26,000 damage. It actually ends up ultimately being more because he got hit with an additional strike when he phased. So over 30,000 damage roughly in total. And then this for me is always hit or miss. Sometimes I one-shot him here, no problem. Other times a lot of them miss. In this case, a lot of the strikes seem to miss. I only got 10,000 damage. So we're going to finish off the Fire Giant here with Knight's Lightning Spear. Keep in mind when facing any boss in Elden Ring, if you're using Ancient Dragon Lightning Strike or if you're using Burno Flame, a lot of them have RNG, so it's going to be a little bit of RNG based. Like I said, there are times where I've had a lot less buffs and I've one-shot them there for 30,000 damage, and there's times where it's missed entirely and times where it hit in between. That time it hit in between. At number 2, we're going to jump into Night Comet now that we're past the Lightning build, and this one's pretty crazy. We're going to start with this one using Golden Vow and Blessings Boon. And we didn't low health proc here. We're just going to use Hellish Rebury before we go in and the Bloodsucking Crack tier before that. And then we're going to use Terra Magica once we're inside. And now in a second here, I'm going to show my clip for Mesmer and see how much damage we can do. Alright, here's Mesmer from the DLC. We're going to roll through this, of course, see how much damage we could start to get with Night Comet. I missed him on the first one, which was disappointing. I wasn't able to charge it. 3 hits so far, over 17,000 damage. That's pretty incredible. That last one, I think, put me around like 25. That was pretty crazy. But anyways, we're going to be in a phase 2 now. That was really quick. And let's see how much damage we can do in phase 2 against Mesmer. Continue to hit him with Night Comet. If you don't have time to charge it, don't worry too much. You'll still get great damage with a build like this one. We didn't low health proc for this one because I knew I was going to get a decent amount of hits in, or have to get a decent amount of hits in. And Mesmer goes down. Not too bad at all, ultimately, for Mesmer on Journey 3, New Game Plus 2 with DLC Plus. I'm working my way back, by the way. This character's now almost on Journey 4 to give you an update. I'm going to get one of these characters back to New Game Plus 7 for you guys, because I know you like those builds for New Game Plus 7. Anyways, here we're going to jump into equipment. We have 2 Staves of Lost for the 60% boost. We have any seal for buffs. We're using the Rakshasa set, Graven School Talisman, Godfrey Icon. Then we have the Graven Mask Talisman, Magic Scorpion Charm, and we have the Magic tier and Bloodsucking Crack tier. Let's jump into stats. For our stats, we have 40 Vigor only, another risky build that does a lot of damage, 23 Mind, 25 Endurance, 12 Strength and Dexterity, 75 Intelligence. We have 33 Faith, so we could use our buffs. We have Golden Vow, Hellish Rebury, Terra Magica, Night Comet, and Blessings Boon as our buffs. Let's jump into the next one. And at number 1, we have the Blasphemous Blade build. This is an incredible one, honestly, because you could make the Blasphemous Blade even better with the Bloodsucking Crack tier. You guessed it. We're going to use Golden Vow, of course. Then we're going to use Blessings of the Erd Tree. Then we're going to use Hellish Rebury. Lastly, for this one, I'm going to use the Bloodsucking Crack tier. We're going to go in and see how much damage we can get with the Blasphemous Blade. You knew what number 1 would be, but as I was approving this, I realized the Blasphemous Blade is the perfect weapon to go with the Bloodsucking Crack tier because you're constantly healing back HP, so you can get that bonus, that extra damage. Now, granted, you can't run the Ritual Swords Talisman, but it's still a net of 10% more damage, and since everything stacks multiplicatively, it ends up being even more damage if you use a lot of buffs. By the way, the first 3 hits were 11,000 damage with the Blasphemous Blade. Pretty incredible. So another 11,000 damage there, the first 2 hits or whatever it was. So yeah, we're getting 11,000 damage on our hits. This last one makes contact. I think one of the buffs ran out, but we hit her for 10,000, so that's not bad either. Ultimately, though, you're going to be healing back HP, doing massive fire damage, and this build is definitely one that could probably carry you through the majority of the DLC and base game on any journey. As everyone knows, the Blasphemous Blade is incredible. Jump into equipment and stats. And of course, we have the Blasphemous Blade plus 10, and then we have the Tree Seal. We are using the Rakshasa set. This is random. I just needed that for an extra point of dexterity on another build I did. So you could use whatever you want in the first slot. And then the Talisman of Dread, Shard of Alexander, Fire Scorpion Charm, Flame Tear, and Blood Sucking Crack Tear. Let's jump into stats. And we have 50 Vigor, 21 Mind, 26 Endurance, 20 Strength, 19 Dexterity, but you only need 15. We have 80 Faith, and our buffs are going to be Golden Vow, Howl Brewery, and Blessings of the Erd Tree to help with the HP. And thanks for watching this one. I appreciate everybody that tuned into this video. I used a lot of the same weapons and types of things I normally do, but I improved upon all of them, used the Blood-Sucking Crack Tier for everyone, and ultimately ended up with a lot of damage. If you want some risky builds, try some of these out if you want a really fun time and you want to try something a little bit different. Be sure to sub, by the way, if you're not subbed to my channel and you're enjoying Elden Ring. Another crafting video should be out before this video or after, I'm not sure, but it should be out shortly. I will catch you in the next one.